This tutorial will demonstrate how to create separate sections for your quizzes or your surveys in Google Forms and provide you with examples on how to use some of the more uncommon questions Google Forms has to offer. This first section of the example form displays some of the more common questions that you might use. When you create a new section in a Google Forms, the questions in that new section will show up on a separate page of your form. To add a new section in a Google Forms, go down to the bottom of your first section and you can click on the last question you've added. Then go to the Add Section icon, click on the Add Section icon, and the new section will insert right below the previous section in your form. After you have created a section, you can give your section a name and also write directions right underneath the name of your section. Using this section, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a submission box for a project and also add reflection questions below the submission box. So in my second section here, I'm going to add a question by clicking the plus icon on the side. Then I'm going to choose the question type File Upload. Then I'm going to press Continue. And when you create this type of file upload question, it is going to give you an option to insert a question here, but you can just ignore that and leave it blank. Now, if you wanted to add some reflection questions below the submission box, all you have to do is add another question by clicking the plus sign. Then you can choose your type of question from the drop-down menu. Type your question in here, and students would be able to answer right below. And then you always have the option to make it a required question, so they won't be able to submit until they answer the reflection question. Now, if you want to see how your Google form looks so far, all you have to do is click the preview button, and it will allow you to have a preview of how your form would look as if you were taking the form. So from the preview view, this is my first section of my form that I've created so far. Then to get to the next section that we just created, all you have to do is hit Next at the bottom of your page. And then it's going to bring you to that section that we just created to upload a file. So when your students go to upload their file, all they have to do is click on the button that says Add File, and they can upload their file from files saved on their computer, or they can upload their file from their Google Drive. Then in the same section right below would be their reflection question, and then right below their question they can type in their response, and then when they're all finished with that, they can hit submit. In our next section of our example form, I'm going to show you possible questions that you could use when creating surveys and reflections. One type of question that you might want to use when creating a survey or reflection is the linear scale question. For this type of question, all you have to do is write your question here, and then below you can set your numbers for your scale. So if you want to do it from 1 to 5, or maybe you might want to do it from 1 to 10. And then you can provide labels for the lowest number in your scale and the highest number of your scale. So for this example, I just set my scale from 1 to 5, and then I gave the lowest number on my scale a label and also the highest number on my scale a label. And when the question is complete, you can see that it's going to look like this when someone is taking the form. The next type of question that you might want to use for a survey or reflection might be a checkbox grid. When using checkboxes in forms, the person taking the form will have the ability to choose more than one answer for each question. And in this case, you will be able to check off more than one answer in each row. So for this example, it's asking you for each subject to check off the Google app that you think your students would benefit from using. So each row will display a different subject, and then each column will display an answer or the different types of apps that your students could use. So then when somebody's taking the form, it's going to look like this, and they'll have the ability to check off multiple answers in each row. In this last section, I'm going to demonstrate a type of question that you could use for labeling diagrams or analyzing data. So for this example question, I would have the students analyze a bar graph. The type of question I am using is the multiple choice grid. So it's going to look very similar to the checkbox grid that we did above, except it's going to be in the form of multiple choice and not checkboxes. Now, for every type of question that you create in Google Forms, you always have the option of inserting a picture. So when you just hover your mouse next to the question, a little picture icon will come up. Now, you can upload a picture file from just dragging and dropping the image. You can take a snapshot. You can do it by its URL. You can even do it from your Google Drive, or even you can just conduct a Google search right in here for your image. Now, I inserted just a picture of the graph I would want my students to analyze, and then below I can start building my grid. So I set up the names of each group in my rows, and then I set up the different data in my columns. And when someone takes the form, the question is going to look like this. And because it's multiple choice, students will only be able to provide one answer for each row.